All right, Matt, we're back. Um, got a lot of stuff to talk about as we are heading into NFL Wildcard Weekends. So we will definitely get into our Cowboys, Dolphins, and all things NFL. But first, gonna just provide a little update from the news on Damar Hamlin, who we discussed last week. So it was a week ago that he suffered the cardiac arrest on the field. We and the rest of the sports world were reacting to it, just praying for him at the time. Really, there wasn't too much of an update, but it really didn't sound good. So, it was pretty scary. Um, they were saying he was still in critical condition and all this stuff, but luckily he has recovered in Cincinnati and he's doing much better now. They actually discharged him today, so he's able to fly back to Buffalo. Um, but yeah, it was a crazy week for the NFL in the NFL. But it was really cool to see all the players and just the whole NFL community, all the fan bases really coming together. Even in this time where every game is so critical, right? It's the last week of the regular season and there are so many playoff implications going on and all that. And for like the NFL and just the whole fandom as well, to see everyone rally around Damar Hamlin, that was really cool to see. Uh Pretty unprecedented event, and hopefully we never have to see anything like this ever again, because it was really scary. But um yeah, so anyway, luckily he's doing well and all the charity stuff. But it was pretty crazy because so I guess when the reports came out that he, like, his heart did stop. But the one Buffalo trainer, I guess I forget his name already. Um,
Got the game ball, by the way.
yeah, he
Did you
got the
see
game
that?
ball.
Which was
Um,
really nice to see.
yeah, John Brown gave him one of the game balls. Um, it was just it was crazy because he literally brought Damar back, like,
Sure. From the
pretty much
dead.
like from the dead. Like, um I gotta find out this guy's name. But yeah, it was crazy because he literally resuscitated um Damar Hamlin, Denny Kellington. So shout out to Denny.
That's right.
Um, I had to shout out his name because he saved his life. His heart wasn't beating. But yeah, so great stuff there. Glad to see he's doing okay. That was first and foremost. And we've been saying it. I have been saying it a lot for probably 2 years now. Like, how crazy the NFL has been getting. Like, crazy in the sense that some games are so close or so good, it's like too good to be true. Uh, and right along with my script writers, conspiracy theory. What happens in the first game back in Buffalo, right?
Naheem Hines and the
Naheem
football
Hines,
gods strike.
Naheem Hines takes the opening kickoff all the way back for a touchdown, and it's like I saw it. I just had goosebumps. I was like, man, there's no way. Like, it's one thing to go out there and win, right? But it's another thing for them to take the opening kickoff, and he did it twice. Naheem Hines did it twice, by the way. Um, so thank you, Naheem, because you helped get my Dolphins in the playoffs. Um, and but more importantly, it's just like it's too good. It's like it's a movie at this point. I'm sure we will get a 30 for 30 or something on it, like,
Yeah.
in the coming years, and it's gonna be crazy. But anyway, I'm glad Damar is healthy. That's all that matters. But Matt, we have other business we do need to get to. Both of our teams are in the playoffs, albeit kind of limping in, right? So I wanted to get to you first. What do you think? I guess how are you feeling? It wasn't a great game for you guys. and you got to go and you're playing Mr. Brady, who's starting to heat up maybe at the wrong time for you guys. But they didn't play all their starters against the Falcons either. But how are you feeling, Matt, going into the Monday night slate game of Wildcard Weekend?
I am very concerned. I don't think I've ever been this concerned this year. And it scares me because, as an NFL team going into the playoffs, you always want to be streaking and riding that momentum to your first game. And right on cue, the Cowboys do what the Cowboys do. They stink it up. I mean, this is really their worst game of the season, unfortunately. Even worse than that Tampa game. I mean, Sam Howell. We lost to Sam Howell. He was the third string quarterback. We didn't even get to play my best friend, Carson Wentz, or Taylor Heineke. We lost to Sam Howell.
I think you were kind of wishing you got to play Mr. Wentz.
Oh, I was, yeah. I didn't want to see Taylor Heineke, but I was hoping that Carson Wentz would play just so, maybe they build his trade stock or whatever. I don't know. Actually, I don't even know if he's tradable, if he's a free agent or not. But I was really hoping that we got Carson Wentz. But, Washington being out of the playoff hunt, probably wanted to see what they could get out of Sam Howell going into the NFL draft this year. So we got to face him, and we had our starting quarterback. We had all our starters, actually, for the most part. We had Dak, we had Tony Pollard back, we had Zeke, we had CD, we had Micah Parsons, Trayvon Diggs, we had all these guys. And somehow we gave up 26 points to a third string quarterback. But I will say it was not all on the defense, because when you score 6 points, something is wrong, and it's all on the offense. And I think it's great, because going a couple games back, it's like I was ready to just absolutely tear this person to shreds, but he kind of made a play here and there, and it's like, well, now I kind of feel bad to just kind of throw him under the bus. But there's no escaping this one. I'm sorry. And this is exactly why I've been saying this probably every week, being, a Cowboys fan. But gosh, I miss Cooper Rush. I really do. And it's things that Dak Prescott does that just frustrates every single Cowboy fan. And he did it yet again. Another, probably his worst performance ever in the NFL. 14 for 37, which is atrocious. The only sport that's good in is baseball. That's a pretty good batting average, 38%. Pretty good batting average. But my gosh, 38% completion percentage. One sorry touchdown to CD at the end of the half or first half. And yet, right on cue, another interception. And oh, by the way, it was a pick six. So Dak's now thrown 3 pick sixes in his last 4 games. He's thrown an interception in 7 straight games. He ends up being tied for the league in interceptions with Davis Mills, but Dak missed 5 games. So if you put that into perspective, he would have ran away with the interception lead if he played a full season. And how can you possibly, as a Cowboy fan, as a coach, how can you defend this play? Like, that's just unacceptable. And I don't care if he got paid $75 million. I don't care if he was on his rookie contract. You cannot win with this type of play. And for me to have my quarterback stinking like this, and just, it looks like he forgot how to play. Like, I know he can play, and he's a talented quarterback, I'll say that, with a lot of flaws, but he can play. He's obviously a quality starter in this league. But when you're trying to win a Super Bowl and you have a team that's built to win the Super Bowl, like, I just think the worst thing you can do is put your team in harm's way. Throwing interceptions, you're not making guys better. And with Dak, I don't know what it is about Kellen Moore too, But we get so pass happy. It's like it's all about Dak that we lose track of how to run the football. And going back to this whole Cooper Rush thing, because that's what it comes down to. I miss Cooper Rush because we were the boringest team in the league, but we kept winning. We just win. We had a run game. We were emphasizing the run game. Look at us now in this game. Zeke had 8 carries for 10 yards. He looks terrible. Terrible. He looks washed at this point. Tony Pollard, your Pro Bowl running back, 7 carries, really? For 19 yards? Like, what? There's no explanation for that. And yeah, you were falling behind from the beginning, but it was like the defense kept you in the game for the most part. I mean, they forced a missed field goal. You get an interception by Malik Hooker in the red zone that takes off at least 3 points. Probably would have been 6, to be honest, if they don't get that turnover. So your defense is at least giving you some kind of fighting chance. And there was just nothing, no identity. And I don't know why these coaches just don't figure it out, but we cannot win with Dak throwing 40, 50 times a game. He's not Josh Allen. He's not Patrick Mahomes. That's not our game plan. We're a run-first team. We've always been a run-first team. Look at back in the 90s. Why was Troy Aikman so good? It's because we ran the ball with Emmitt Smith first. And then you play action off of that, and you can throw it to Michael Irvin and all those guys on the outside. And when you need a big-time conversion on third down, that's when you get Troy Aikman making a big play with Michael Irvin catching a huge ball. Like, that's what we need Dak to do. Like, on third downs, on a critical conversion, that's when you got to make the big-time throw. The rest of the game, be the best game manager and the most boring quarterback ever. Run the ball. Take your checkdowns, which he just doesn't do. I don't know what it is. Like, I don't know if you were watching the game. Every throw was like over the middle, trying to fit it through the seam with double coverage, triple coverage. It's just so many risky throws. And it's like any other good team. And now we're going to see, right? We're going into the playoffs. You play a playoff team with that kind of performance, we're losing 50-0. Kind of like how Georgia did a TCU today. We're going to be TCU next week. I mean, I can't defend that. I mean, the offense was terrible with Dak. He had 9 3-and-outs. You know how hard that is to do? 3-and-out. You didn't even get a first down. Like, I can't defend this man. It's tough. It really is tough because this team is built to win now. And it's always the same with Dak. Oh, yeah, I'm going to clean it up. You know, I got to be better. You've been saying that for the past how many weeks since you've been back? Obviously, nothing is changing. You're insane. You're not changing. Something is not clicking with you. Watch your film. I genuinely think he's not watching film properly. Like there's got to be some kind of silver lining because he doesn't take his checkdowns anymore. And the interception he threw, I mean, the play before should have been a pick 6. And this is Kellen Moore's fault too. Why are you calling this almost the same route for Noah Brown, knowing that Kendall Fuller just broke on the same out route? If you're going to call that route, it better be a double move, like an out and go, a sluggo, or something like that. You know Kendall Fuller is biting. He already dropped the interception. He's going to be aggressive. That's your chance to take a shot. And you call a quick throw like that. Like, one, Kellen Moore, what the hell are you doing? Like, you've been calling this crap for the past 2-3 years since you've been the offensive coordinator. You run the ball up the middle every single time. Teams are figuring that out now. That's why we're not running the ball as effectively. Get Tony Pollard to the outside, as I've been saying. You know, mix in the inside runs with Zeke. But don't always run the ball, run a dive on 1st and 10 because you're always setting yourself up for 2nd and long. That's when Dak is going to have to throw, and we all know what's going to happen there. Some kind of interception. So it's a combination of everyone on the offensive side. And it's a very concerning look to me. I will say it. I'm pretty sick right now, to be honest. I really hope it's not this bad next week. I want to be on the opposite side, but
Yeah,
I am very concerned. I mean, special teams was terrible too. Cavante Turpin muffs the punt. Maher misses an extra point. Brian Anger muffs the catch on the
$9
punt.
million punter
A
can't be
$9 million
having it.
punter can't handle a
Can't
snap.
be having
Like,
it.
and it wasn't a bad snap. It was right in his hands. The kicker, the returner, and the punter all messed up.
I mean, maybe this is
So
just all the nerves getting it out before the playoffs, you know? This is they're trying to this is Mike McCarthy trying to outthink the Bucs. Like, we are junk right now. Don't give us a second thought. And then they come out and play a great game. It's just, he's
but
playing chess, not checkers.
well, I will say the thing about Dallas is every time they do play bad this year, they always tend to bounce back. Like that Tampa game. Everyone was like, oh, the season's over. Like they look terrible. They can't move the ball. We come back with Cooper Rush, albeit, but you beat the Bengals. You beat the Rams in SoFi. You beat the Giants, who were undefeated at the time. So they're capable of turning things around. And I'm kind of just holding my hat on that and the fact that the Bucs are still not, they're not the defending champ Bucs or the 2020 Bucs winning the Super Bowl, right? I still don't think they can run the ball. So that plays into our hands better to me because our strength is still our pass rush. It doesn't look as explosive, which is a little concerning, but at least we did have 3 sacks. But I mean, now it's playoff time. So if Micah Parsons doesn't get a sack, 2 sacks, just cause havoc, we ain't going nowhere. So maybe he was taking the last like 7 weeks off just to save all his energy for Tom Brady. Because he got Tom Brady twice in that first game. So I'm sure he's gonna want more. But that's the only silver lining that I have is they do bounce back this year after some kind of stinker. So I'm just praying that that trend continues. Also on Twitter, there's also a trend. If you follow the Dallas, their like win-loss trend, they're supposed to win 4 games in a row right now.
That's crazy. It's just
And
like
that's
Miami.
what and that's what it takes to win the Super Bowl for our team. Four wins. So I don't know. Maybe this is destiny.
That's
But
crazy.
we got to see. But I will admit I'm very concerned. I'm very concerned, and we'll get into the predictions later in this
Hmm.
show. But yeah, not a good look going into the playoffs for sure.
Yeah, and just really quick, from the highlights that I saw at least, I thought, the defense, they did okay. Um, I mean, you're playing Sam Howell, first of all, so even if you do stop him, I'm not going to give you a ton of credit. But at the same time, the two turnovers on special teams, I mean, they did the best that they could. I felt like kind of just a short field for Washington there. So can't give them all the blame, but I wouldn't give them all the credit either, right? But like you said, man, the offense, yeah, I'm for your sake, I'm just hoping they were testing out some new things, new wrinkles, new uh schemes or plays before the playoffs. For your sake, I hope that's what they were doing.
I didn't
Uh
see anything because it was
Maybe a
all
new
runs up the
plan.
middle on first down. It's the same thing.
Um, but yeah, it's definitely, the Dallas that we've seen this year, uh, when they put on a full performance like that Minnesota game, right? That we saw this year and they absolutely destroyed the Vikings. That's Dallas at its peak, right? But the question is, can Mike McCarthy get everyone, all 3 phases, on the same page, right? And firing on all cylinders? Because if you do, I genuinely think you guys have a chance at, taking the whole thing. But my only problem is we we've been, seeing the inconsistent Dallas team like we're used to seeing too many times this year. And especially in this one right before going to the playoffs. That's kind of my only concern. You guys definitely have the potential though. So I guess we'll see you next week. We will get into predictions, but really quick, let me just get into a little bit of the Miami stuff, right? So Tua didn't play this weekend, and it was a win. They needed to win to get in, and they needed Buffalo to beat New England, and so those games were going on at the same time. Um, I was kind of scared. I woke up late. I wasn't even gonna watch the first half because I was like, I it'd be too much for me. I just let me check in on the score, right? So I checked in third quarter. It was like 6-3 or something. So I was like, oh man, it's one of those kind of games, which was kind of expected, right? I mean, you had Joe Flacco out there for the Jets, and then Skylar Thompson, the rookie, who kind of struggled. He had some good moments, but for the most part, he is a rookie in this offense. So I wasn't expecting too much. But anyway, they were able to pull it off. The defense, I'm hoping this is the game that catapults the defense. I know they're playing Joe Flacco, but um, it was still a pivotal must-win game, and sometimes you got to win ugly. In the playoffs, you'll take them however you get, right? 11-6 looks like a baseball score, but in the playoffs, if you're the 11, you'll take that every single time, right? Doesn't matter. So
Yep.
I just thought this was a good showing for the defense. Last year the defense pretty much had been the catalyst of that team, right? Under Brian Flores, uh, giving everyone that zero look that was giving everyone trouble. And they had chances, I felt like, in this 5-game losing streak, to come up with one stop, a couple times. One stop is what they needed, and they just couldn't get that done. Buffalo game, the Chargers game, I felt like the Chargers game offense looked terrible too. But I thought defense had its chances to make plays, and this time they stepped up when they needed to. So I'm hoping that's what they needed on the defensive side of the ball to get right. Jason Sanders as well, our kicker. He's been kind of up and down this year. Last year he was, I think, the most accurate kicker in the league. Um, and this year he's kind of struggled from distance. Anything 50 plus. This year I think he was like 1 for 5 or 2 for 5 or something like that, 2 for 6. But he hit the big 50-yard kick when it mattered at the end. Put him up 9-6 there. So that's those two phases. I'm not too concerned because it looks like we're getting in the right direction. But I think if Miami has any chance of being in a game against Buffalo, Tua is going to need to be the quarterback. Um, Nothing against Teddy or Skyler, but this offense just hums when Tua is in and he's grooving. Honestly, and we haven't seen that from really Teddy or Skyler at all this year. So the update on Tua right now is he still hasn't quite cleared protocol yet, just yet. Sounds like the spirits are high though from the reports, and sounds like if he is cleared, he's gonna play. So I'm sure that's great for Miami fans.
That is
Now,
ballsy.
yeah, so that, I mean, obviously, if you're a Miami fan, you care about winning, right? That's great to hear. But we kind of discussed with Tua 3 concussions maybe this year, and pretty serious one. Obviously the Cincinnati game. So maybe he made his decision. He sounds like he's talked to the doctors. He's heard enough, right? Um, I hear they're going with that a different helmet, which you would have thought he would have done after the Cincinnati concussion. But yeah, it sounds like they're putting on more of a like a special protected extra cushion, bigger helmet or something like that. Hope that keeps him safe. But yeah, we will. It sounds like they're gonna give us reports later in the week. But yeah, Miami's pretty banged up. Mostert broke his thumb. Teron Armstead, who I think has been vital for this team all year, is banged up as well. He hasn't played the past two. But it's gonna be tough going into Buffalo, especially with the emotion that they're riding right now. But yeah, we'll get to that. At least Miami's in. They made it in. I hope they don't fire Mike. Thank goodness they made it. They limped into the playoffs just like you guys, Matt. They limped across the finish line, but you know they got in by the skin of their teeth. Unlike you guys, you guys were at least comfortable limping in. You limped in way earlier, I guess. So
Thanks,
yeah, well,
Giants, by the way.
yeah, we'll see how how things go this week, and then obviously we'll talk about it next week. And then last game, real game I really want to get into, Matt. Let's talk about how Green Bay had their chance to get into the playoffs, and quite honestly, I thought, well, we both thought, right? Green Bay
We
was
both
gonna
said Green Bay was gonna win.
win at Lambeau, right? Because Jared Goff this year on the road outside has struggled. Lo and behold, the Detroit Lions, pulled out the stunner and played spoiler to the Packers season. I know a bunch of Packers fans that guaranteed were upset. I was watching the game in the first half with Randy. We were eating, watching the game. Then we went home at halftime. But I can't imagine that it was a happy time for Packers fans on Sunday. Um, or was it Monday night? No, Sunday night.
Sunday night. That was
Yeah,
the Sunday night
yeah,
game.
Sunday night. Yeah, not tonight. This on Sunday night. So, I don't know, Matt. What were your takeaways from this? Because to me, it was just the Packers couldn't execute when it counted. I thought they had their chances. They were in the red zone a couple times early in the game. Uh, Only got field goals out of it, and then they had that Aaron Jones fumble. I mean, and then Detroit just made plays down the stretch. Detroit didn't play a clean game either, though. I mean, penalties. Um, they had some miscues on offense as well. Uh, but I guess in the end they did enough to beat Mr. Rogers. So I don't know.
To me, this is on Aaron Rodgers. To me, because there's some kind of trend going on with Aaron Rodgers in these quote unquote playoff games at home in the fourth quarter, right? It start with Tampa Bay in 2020. He had his chances and he stunk it up so bad that his coach said, I'm going to kick a field goal instead of trying to go for it on fourth down. Last year against Jimmy G, a warm weathered team in LA, in San Francisco, coming up to you in the frozen tundra, and you get beat by Jimmy G. You're Aaron Rodgers with the number one seed. You lose at home. Not a good look. And then this one was basically a playoff game, I would say, unofficially. But in the fourth quarter, right on cue, right? Aaron Rodgers throws a terrible pick. I think that was his last pass, right? Of the game. Could be his last pass as a Packer or in the NFL. We don't know. But I think it was Aaron Rodgers. He didn't make a lot of good throws tonight. I maybe saw a couple. Maybe he had a nice touchdown to Lazard.
He had some
And
drops
that
though.
and
I
yeah,
thought.
Romeo Dobbs had quite a few drops, I will say. But he did have a nice throw to Christian Watson, thinking like a 40-yard go route, which is a nice throw. But
I thought that
he
was
did
gonna
get he yeah,
unlock
he
the
got
game for
away
them.
with a lot of picks, a lot of dangerous throws. And I think Detroit actually got one, but then there was a penalty on them. So
Mm-hmm.
it could have been a lot worse to me.
Yeah,
And
that was the one out. That was the was that would have been a pick six, I think.
it
Yeah, I
wasn't
think
a
it.
pick six, but I think they returned it to like the Packer, I want to say like 30-yard line. So already in field goal
Oh,
range.
okay.
But yeah, just it's on Rodgers. I mean, you get paid $200 million. It's kind of like Dak, right? For me, if I'm a Packers fan, I pay Aaron Rodgers. He's whining all the time. I want these guys. I follow my lead. Listen to me. I'm the man. Okay, if you're the man, then this is why we got you the money. You can't just whine and complain all the time and not show up. Like you're a Super Bowl winning quarterback, Hall of Fame quarterback, I would think. But you cannot keep coming up small in the fourth quarters against Jared Goff. You lost to a old Tom Brady, Jimmy G, or Jimmy Gag, as Skip Bayless calls him, and Jared Goff. Like at home, that just cannot happen. The Brady one is maybe a pass, but you can't lose to Jimmy G at home. You can't lose to Jared Goff at home. Get outplayed in the fourth quarter by both of those guys. So to me, this is on Aaron Rodgers because the defense kept. Hey, they held Detroit to 20 points. Those guys can score in a heartbeat. So You hold them to 20 points, I would hope Aaron Rodgers can take that game home for you. That's coming from if I'm seeing it from a Packers fan, I would be very upset
Yeah.
with Aaron Rodgers.
And that pick that he had at the end of the game that you're talking about, right, to Christian Watson, it reminded me of the exact same pick that he had last year, when he was going to Devontae Adams in double coverage, when he had, I think it was Lazard too.
Sorry.
It's been both times now. I think he had Lazard coming across on like a 12-yard in route kind of thing, but he chose to take a shot with who I think now Christian Watson has evolved into his main guy. He's the big playmaker, right? He has the speed, he has the length. His confidence is there now with his catching ability. So it seems to me that sometimes, at least in the past 2 years now, when the chips are down, right, and a play has got to be made, Rodgers kind of trusts more in his guy rather than the play or taking what's there. And I don't know if that's just, Rodgers as his attitude. He knows he's the superstar. He wants to make hit the big home run shot. But, he struck out the past 2 years, and now it's going to cost them the season once again. Yeah, I don't know, Matt. I don't know if this is it for Rodgers. I think it'll be interesting to see what we hear in the offseason. And yeah, I mean, the Packers, I think they have some pieces. I think they're going to need to add a little bit more on offense. I thought their defense this year played, fairly well, pretty well. But there were other things like, let's talk about the Rasul Douglas thing when he like walked up to stop the field goal. I mean, I guess it came out later that Matt LaFleur was calling a timeout, right? But then after all that, you go ahead and get a penalty for shoving a guy, right?
Quay Walker.
Quay
Oh
Walker,
gosh.
inexcusable. And by the way, that's the second time he's done that, right? So he was their first pick of the draft this year. This is the second time he shoved a trainer, right? And they replayed the footage of this past game when he like shoved the Lions guy. The Lions trainer was just like trying to get around him. He like put his hand on his chest, didn't like push him at all. He's just trying to like get around him to treat whoever was on the ground. And Quay Walker just turns, shoves him. Like like
What
losing
are you
your cool
doing?
like that. What
And
are
it's
you
like
doing?
they show him in the locker room too after he got ejected. He's all like making a huge scene. Like, bro, come on.
Yeah, like
You
I mean,
punched a trainer. What do you think is gonna happen?
yeah, you don't shove trainers, you don't shove officials, you don't shove other coaches, right? I know things get heated between players, but shoving a trainer who's trying to help an injured guy on the field is a different story uh than shoving a player that, did something to you, right? So, yeah, just inexcusable mistakes from the Packers, and I think there's going to be a lot of questions going into this offseason on whether or not they can, you know, what they're gonna do. They still got Jordan Love, and the time is ticking on Jordan Love now, right?
They said that if Jordan Love doesn't play next year, he wants to be traded. I think he made that public like mid-season
I
with the
mean,
whole Aaron Rodgers
I
situation.
wouldn't
So
be,
it's one or the other now at this
I wouldn't
point.
be too surprised. I think he probably deserves a chance somewhere, but we'll have to see. He probably is gonna have to wait his turn as a backup somewhere else, anywhere else as well, because I mean we haven't seen too much of Jordan Love, being honest. I don't know who's gonna roll the dice on that, but let's flip it over really fast to Detroit. So I want to give Detroit some credit, man. You talk about Kellen Moore a lot, right? The play calling. I don't know who the OC is for the
Ben
Lions.
Johnson. Ben
Okay.
Johnson.
He has some of the most, I feel like, creative play calls that we've seen. And we don't talk about the Lions, but we've talked about their play calling a couple times this year now. Talk about the Panay Sewell one, right? Where he caught the pass in a critical game to get them a first down. And then in this game, right? it was a 3rd and long, and it looks like they're throwing a screen to Amon-Ra St. Brown,
A
but
hook
it
and
turns out to
ladder.
be a hook and ladder, right? I mean, just like really creative play calling. And by the way, in such a critical moment as well, right? To have faith in your players to go ahead and execute that with the game on the line. DeAndre Swift, I think, almost picks up the first down there. 4th and 1, and then they end up converting. They throw on 4th and 1, right? To get the first down and break the heart of Packers Nation. But I don't know if he's being interviewed. I think I did see the Colts were
Yeah,
interviewing him.
he's in the mix.
I think with what he's done with that offense, and it's not like they don't have any playmakers, right? I think Amon-Ra St. Brown is gonna be, you know, a top 10 receiver in the league next year. Well, at least in Fanatic, he puts up numbers, top 10 wide receiver numbers. You can argue on if he's a top 10 receiver, but the numbers, don't lie. When he does play, he produces. Almost like a Cooper Cup. You don't think of the athletic traits, but he puts up, he'll put up 8 to 12 catches a game, close to 100 yards, right? And comes up with big catches. I forgot what the stat was, but he has some ridiculous number of 3rd down catches for a first down. It's like 96 or something in the past 2 years, which is like crazy. So he produces a lot. But with Jared Goff as your quarterback, you're limited, somewhat in what you can do, just like with Tua. A lot of guys that we see, but they're able to turn this offense into an exciting offense. So I think he's going to be looked at a lot. I'm sure you would love to have him in Dallas if you get the chance. But
I think they just need it. Maybe they should hire Kellen Moore, Teams,
yeah,
I'm putting a announcement for teams to hire Kellen Moore. He's a great guy, young offensive mind. You guys go after him. Go after him.
yeah. Okay, well, no one's biting on that. Good try.
Yeah, that
But
was a good sales pitch.
But yeah, I think the Lions, they didn't even have Jamison Williams the whole year. He's gonna be, healthy going into next year. They still got, I believe they still will have the 2 running backs coming back. Kind of interesting how Jamal Williams kind of took over RB1, because I think DeAndre Swift is really
Yeah.
talented.
Swift's
Uh
turned into kind of like that receiving back
hmm
almost. Change of
but
pace.
I can't deny whenever I watch Jamal Williams run, he runs so hard. He's like just one of those guys. He puts his head down, he runs hard every single time he touches the ball. I think that's why he's always the go to go back for them, right?
Mhm.
I think he had 17 touchdowns this year. So he went crazy
Crazy.
in the red zone this year. So, you know, Detroit, last year seemed like there were some positive things brewing. Now it seems like they're, right there from being a playoff team. So it's going to be really interesting to see Detroit next year, I think, in that NFC North. I think it'll be a little bit more competitive than people think. But yeah, good for Dan Campbell, good for Jared Goff, and good for Detroit. They beat their rival twice this year, by the way. They beat the Packers and the sweet one to deny them from the playoffs. So all right. Well, Matt, let's get to a little bit of a break here, and then we'll go heavy into our playoffs, both NFL, and we can wrap up the CFP. So everyone stick around, and we'll be right back. All right. So the regular season is now officially over after tonight. Well, I guess after yesterday, because no Monday night game tonight. Um, but let's dive in to these NFL playoff matchups. We'll run through each game and then give our predictions on each one. So Matt wanted to start with the AFC, so we will start there with the AFC. The first game coming up, we got on Saturday, Chargers at the Jags. I think this is a pretty interesting game. But Mr. Fanatic, I will give the floor to you first. What Who do you think wins this one?
Ooh, this is a tough
I
matchup.
think
I
this is a
think
tough
both
one.
teams it's pretty even, I would say.
I would
But wow, this is tough. I want to say Justin Herbert because that's my guy. but I think the Jaguars are playing better at the right time. And I think it's because Brandon Staley versus Doug Peterson. I give the advantage to Doug Peterson to get his team ready. He's won a Super Bowl with a backup quarterback. So I think he knows what it takes to make a run, obviously. And he's definitely gonna get his team ready to play. You might see a Philly special or
I think we'll definitely see some
some
interesting
kind of
play
trick
calls.
play. Yeah.
Even let's, really quick, going back to that Titans game. I know they had the trick play that ended up failing, you know. That was one of the big turnovers early. But, when they replayed it, if they were able to just execute that and not drop the pitch, they had a whole mess of
Mm-hmm.
open space on the other side that I really think they were going to throw it. So I think that would have went for a touchdown. But I forgot who it was, but he just dropped, like, Trevor Lawrence
Agnew.
pitched it. It was Agnew pitched it right to
Yeah.
him, and he just dropped it. Um, so I think we're
Yeah.
gonna see some creative stuff like that. So okay, you got the Jags. I
I got the Jags.
I also was gonna have the Jags. Couple reasons. So for me, honestly, the quarterback play, Justin Herbert, Trevor Lawrence are both kind of in that prototype quarterback you want, right? Both guys can run, long, athletic, can throw on the run, big arms. So, obviously Justin Herbert has a little bit more experience, but as far as talent wise goes, I don't think there's a huge discrepancy there. I will say though, the two things. Oh, I guess it's kind of three things at this point. I'm giving the nod to the Jaguars defense right now, because I think they've been playing better, as of late than the Chargers defense has. Obviously you can ask your Cowboys about how their defense played, and they shut down the Titans. I mean, albeit Josh Dobbs, nothing against him, but he's a third string quarterback on that team. But the Jags, I think they're pretty. They got some guys, Josh Allen, and they have a bunch of guys that can play on defense. So that's one for me. The second thing, like you touched on, coaching, right? Something about Brandon Staley, in these close games, decision making or time management. I just can't give the nod to him just on what we've seen so far. And it's just, Charger things, I guess. And then third, I think the Jags are healthier at this point, right? They still have a lot of their weapons on offense. And the Chargers might not have Mike Williams. He got carted off the field. I don't even know why he's playing in a meaningless game. That's another thing. We can go back to
I gotta say
Brandon
something
Staley.
about that.
But yeah, so he got hurt. They're missing a lot of their guys on defense, and the Jags are at home. So just for that, I'm gonna have to give the slight nod to the Jags. I think it'll be a close one, and I think it'll be an exciting game. But I'm gonna have to give it to the Jags there.
Yeah, I kind of want to touch on the last point you said too about Staley and the Chargers being, I guess, or you should say the Jags being healthier. So in this last game, I don't know what the playoff seeding implications would have been, but from my understanding, there was really no gain for the Chargers.
No,
So why, if I'm Brandon Staley, why am I playing my starters deep into the fourth quarter? That literally makes no sense. It's not like you're trying to win the division or you have a chance to win the division. You're locked into the wild card spot. So you know you're gonna go on the road regardless. So you want your top guys, your starters to be healthy. Like there's no explanation for Mike Williams to have gotten hurt. He shouldn't have even been playing. Joey Bosa got hurt as well. So and I think I want to say Kenneth Murray got hurt too, if I'm not mistaken. So that's three quality starters. Mike Williams especially, and obviously Joey Bosa. What are you thinking? like, are you trying to get fired? Like, I genuinely think if the Chargers lose this game because they don't have those guys, he's gonna get fired. Like,
that's
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 just
kind of that's pretty hard to
unacceptable.
dispute, honestly.
That's ridiculous. That's absurd to me. So I just wanted to say that point about keeping your team healthy going into the playoffs, especially when you have really nothing to gain by playing this game. So that's all I gotta say. But yeah, I totally agree with what you said in the Jags. I think they're on the rise. We're seeing Trevor Lawrence kind of coming of age a little bit.
Yeah. I thought he looked good, but he didn't look great against the Titans. But we'll
Yeah,
see.
he
It
missed
it
missed the
it
touchdown.
yeah, it's playoff time. Okay, next game, Dolphins Bills. Well, you know who I'll be cheering for? Obviously, I'll be cheering for Miami. I truly think if Tua plays or not is gonna be a huge factor. I think some of the lines that were money lines, I should say, that were getting predicted. Um, oh, sorry, not money lines, the spreads. The spreads that were, being forecasted out there is that if Skylar Thompson plays, it's going to be a 14-point Buffalo spread. If Teddy plays, it's a 10-point Buffalo spread. And if Tua plays, I forget, it was like 7 or 6.5, something like that. So obviously, the bettors think it's a big difference. I think so as well. But let's just go ahead and assume from what we're hearing right now that Tua does play, right? I still think the Bills, are just a little bit better right now, and they have a little bit more to play for. So I would give my nod to the Bills, but I will say I think this game, if Tua plays, is going to be closer than people think. So obviously, with the Bills, right? They're coming off that emotional win. Buffalo's going to be rowdy and ruckus, and it's going to be a really emotional one, especially if Damar Hamlin can make it out to that game, right? So all those things, kind of are, I would say, in the Bills' favor. But at the same time, Miami has played Buffalo tough twice this year. They got the win at home, and even in that game in Buffalo, right at the in December, it was a close game, and it came down to the last drive. And that was another game that I was alluding to earlier, that the Bills kind of needed or the Dolphins needed a stop, couldn't get one. So I think this one's gonna be close. I honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if Miami wins, because the Bills defense, right, to me had been looking so strong throughout the year, but they kind of got, I know Mac Jones threw 3 picks, but they were moving the ball on that Bills defense uh in this past game. And they put up 35 points, but 2 of those touchdowns were from Naheem Hines, uh running 2 kick returns back. So in reality, their offense really only scored 21 points, right? So I'm not, honestly, I think this game is going to be closer than people think. But I, I just think I have to give the Bills a slight nod.
Wow, you didn't pick the Dolphins. I'm actually shocked. But
Obviously, I'm cheering for the Dolphins, but if I gotta be, I'm the fan, all right. I'm not the fanatic, so I don't get to be.
why? You can cheer for whoever you want.
No, I'm cheering for them, but I have to.
And
My predictions have to remain objective, unlike
oh, and
the
mine aren't objective.
unlike my
I think
co-host. That's all I'm saying.
mine are pretty objective. I would say mine are all of my picks are objective. I have some valid reasonings behind everything.
That's
So
true. I'm just saying sometimes you lean certain ways.
hmm, I disagree. We can get into that later. But back to the question, I'm picking the Bills. And really, it comes down to the Dolphins don't have a healthy quarterback, and the Bills do. Josh Allen, you could say, going into the year, was the MVP favorite, had a good year. Probably not going to win MVP, but still a very solid year. They got weapons on the outside, and they're playing with more to me than every other team. They're playing for Damar Hamlin at this point, and they're gonna come out firing, I think. And whether it's Tua, Teddy, Skylar Thompson, it's tough to win in Buffalo in January with that weather. So I truly don't see an upset here. So I think the Bills take this. But I will say, um, one of the players on the Dolphins being Tyreek Hill, I know he got nicked up. So I think he's a difference maker to the point where if Tua is for some reason healthy and Tyreek is there, I do think it would be a one-score game if those guys play. But right now, I agree with the spread. I think Buffalo would win by at least 2 touchdowns. just based off of what Miami is facing with injuries and what Buffalo is at this point.
Okay. Yeah, that's hard to deny. All right, both Bills, both Chargers there. Or sorry, both Jags. Last one we'll get into for AFC. Ravens at the Bengals. I think I'm just gonna go ahead. This is gonna be pretty fast. I think we both got the Bengals, right?
Bengals.
Lamar, who knows? At this point, Tua is closer to playing than Lamar, it sounds like. And the Ravens team without Lamar Jackson, man, did we not speak of this? Remember the contract talks at the beginning of the year, Matt? What were we saying the Ravens should do? They should pay Lamar whatever he wants right now. And now that they didn't, the price yesterday
Price
is
is
not the price of today. Exactly.
or this
So I mean, Baltimore, they didn't even have, Tyler Huntley in this last game, right? They had like their third string quarterback out there. And the past several games that they've been playing without Lamar Jackson, the offense is just pitiful right now. I mean, they put up 16, 13 points, 17 points, 3 points, 16 points. They haven't broken 20 points in the past 5 games. Uh, so it's looking pretty dire, I would say, for this Baltimore team. And Joe Burrow, he's one of the MVP candidates. The Bengals are clicking. They got Jamar Chase back. T. Higgins is still there, playing really well. I don't think this is going to be close. Especially if Lamar doesn't play, I don't think it's close.
No. I think if Lamar doesn't play, I said, in the last game, the Bills would win by 2 touchdowns. I think this is 3.
It might be 17.
That's
It might be a
I'd
17
say,
point win or something like
yeah, like
that,
a 20-point victory at this point.
which is
I
crazy
think it's, yeah.
in the playoffs. I mean, because they just played each other last week too. So you know, uh, if Lamar doesn't play, I don't think the Ravens have a chance to make it close. Oh, all right. Well, we'll see. And then, Kansas City will be waiting as the 1 seed, obviously. But now let's get into the more interesting part that I know you want to talk about, the NFC. So, starting with Saturday's game, the first game of Wildcard Weekend, we got the San Francisco 49ers hosting the Seattle Seahawks, another divisional game in the wildcard round. And, Seattle just snuck in just by the skin of their teeth, going up against a 49ers juggernaut who are absolutely rolling right now with Mr. Brock Purdy. And, he's even getting offensive rookie of the year considerations. I know he's playing well, but I think that's a little ridiculous for the amount of games he's played. But anyway, Matt, give you the floor first since this is your realm of the NFC. What are you thinking for this game?
I mean, I think we're gonna agree on this one too.
Yeah, I think it's
But
gonna be a pretty quick one.
it's yeah, I mean they won how many games does the 49ers win in a row? 10?
10
Is
or
it
something
10?
like
10
that.
games in a row. And the Seahawks, they kind of limped into the
They
playoffs to
limped in as
me.
well.
And
Yep.
so, I mean, they already beat them twice already, pretty convincingly. So nothing really to say here. And the 49ers got Debo Samuel back and they got Elijah Mitchell back. So they're getting healthy at the right time, which is scary for the rest of the NFC. So I think this is another double digit win. 14 to 17-point win for the Niners, I think. And they'll move on pretty convincingly to the divisional round.
Yeah, I think so as well. I know Geno's had a great year. He's a Pro Bowler, right? But they lost 4 of their last 5 games. They needed help to get in to the playoffs in this one. And, I think the Niners just have everything clicking right now. Uh both sides of the ball, right? Bosa and Fred Warner, the secondary are flying around, and they didn't even have Debo Samuel, because he got hurt a little bit in the stretch. And if Brock Purdy, plays like the Brock Purdy we've been seeing the past several games, I don't think this game is close at all. So yeah. pretty easy one there. Niners. Yeah, we both got the Niners. I wouldn't be surprised. This is kind of an interesting one, I'll say. This next one. So, battle of our two friends' teams, Jared versus Riley. We got the Giants taking on the Vikings. I don't know, Matt. I want to hear your take on this game.
Yeah, this is an interesting one. So I'm gonna pick the upset here. I think the Giants upset the Vikings at home based off of what I saw in that first game. I thought came down to the wire. It took a 61-yard field goal from Greg Joseph to walk it off. But I think the Giants are, sadly that I have to say this, but they're peaking a little bit. Take out the last game that they played against the Eagles, they didn't play anyone. But with a healthy Saquon, I think is the key. Like if I'm Brian Dable, I'm giving Saquon 30 touches in this game because that's the way they're going to beat him. Right? Keep Kirk Cousins, keep Justin Jefferson, keep them on the sidelines. Let's control the clock with Saquon Barkley, and I think he's playing at an extremely high level this year. And Dayball is kind of, he's winning with Daniel Jones, so I'm going to give him that. If you keep Daniel Jones turnover free, um, I think this is going to be my upset pick this week. I'm going with the Giants, and we are the NFC. They're in the NFC East. We're the NFC beast in terms of the division. So I gotta pick one of those teams to come out. At least one of those teams to come out this week. So I got the Giants in an upset. Sorry, Riley.
Um, this is gonna be a close one. I think it'll be relatively low scoring. I could see that happening, but I am gonna just have to give my slight nod to the Vikings in this one. Uh, you know, we know the Kirk Cousins primetime thing, right? We've seen that, but Kirk has been in pretty much two of the games of the year, right? The Buffalo game, that was really close, ended up winning, and then we're not going to forget the biggest comeback in NFL history this year, right? Albeit against the Colts, but nonetheless, the largest comeback in NFL history. Kevin O'Connell, I think, has done a really good job with this Vikings team this year. He's made a lot of, critical decisions when he's had to. They have the most one score wins in the NFL this year. And I can't believe I'm saying this, but it's going to come down to, I think, the quarterback play. And who do I trust more with the game on the line at this point? If it wasn't Daniel Jones on the other side, I don't know if I'd be saying I trust Kirk Cousins more, but Kirk's shown me for the most part this year, he's been clutch. When his team has needed him, he has come through. Um, Not like I'm saying Daniel Jones has played bad this year. I thought Daniel Jones has played probably his best year of football, since he's been in the league. But what I've seen this year, I'm gonna give the slight nod to Minnesota, because of the quarterback play, and I think their big play ability, their home run ability is something that it all it takes is one play. Dalvin Cook, Justin Jefferson, even KJ Osborne, one of those guys could get loose at any moment and just flip the whole game around. So I'm giving my slight nod to the Vikings on this one. So
I will
I guess
say,
I got Riley.
all right. I will say though, the Vikings are really hit or miss. Because if they're playing good, they're solid. But when they play bad, it's bad.
Mm-hmm.
And we all saw what it's like Dallas or the first half against the Colts. If they come out and do that against the Giants, they're losing.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of the reason why I was leaning towards the Giants because I really don't know what team I'm gonna get, at least from a Vikings perspective. I don't watch the Vikings like how Riley does, so that's an outsider's perspective.
Yeah. Yeah, the Giants have been pretty steady. Okay, well, obviously last game here. I don't think I have to
Drum
ask
roll.
you for your prediction. But the Monday night game on ESPN, Cowboys at the Bucs. I think we know who Matt's rolling with here. I think you got your boys pretty convincingly, I'm guessing.
I wouldn't say convincingly, but I do think they're better than the Bucs at this point. And I will say we did play them the first game of the season, and we're a completely different team now. If you look at this, the whole season as a whole, we're a completely different team now than we were at the start of the year. So are the Bucs too, right? We all thought at the beginning of the year, the Bucs after that first game, man, they're the runaway NFC favorites. Who's gonna stop them? Their defense looked atrocious. I mean, unstoppable. Uh, who's gonna beat the Bucs this year? And you flip the script. Dallas is 12-5. Tampa Bay is 8-9 as a division winner. Um, but I think as much as the Bucs, you could say maybe streaked a little bit into the playoffs with that win over Carolina. That was one game to me. That's one game. And if you look at the whole season, they're not like how they were even last year. And Brady seems a lot more frustrated on the sidelines to me. He's missing his boy Gronk. He doesn't have that chemistry with Mike Evans outside of that Carolina game this year. Chris Godwin is a little nicked up. Julio Jones is nicked up. He's probably still going to make a play or two just because he's Julio. But the thing I'm hanging my hat on is the Bucs don't run the ball. They're the worst run team in the league. And that plays into my team's strength because we can't stop the run. So if they don't run, then we don't have to worry about that. And I know they're not going to run the ball because they got Tom Brady on the other side. And if we get pressure on Tom Brady, which we can, because that line, Tampa Bay line, is nicked up. They are not the same as they were last year. And we got guys, even though they've been slacking a little bit. Micah Parsons with a broken hand, I'll take that over basically anyone on the front. You got D-Law, you got Dorrance Armstrong, you got guys that can rush the passer. So I'm banking on my front seven with a healthy Leighton Vander Esch coming back to make a havoc in this game. And I think we're going to keep the ball out of number 4's hands, and we're going to play with 21 and 20. So I think the Cowboys win. I'm going to say 23-20. A little Cooper Rush formula, I would say.
Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna agree with you. I'm gonna take the
What?
Cowboys. Okay, hear me out, all right? So I would love to pick the Bucks because, I think they could win, but that's just not the case. And I don't I think the score will be close, but I don't think the game is gonna feel close. I think it's gonna be one of those games. Um, my predictions on this one, I think it's gonna be pretty low scoring. So I'm thinking a something in the I really think it might be like a 19-13 type of game.
Wow, you're
Um,
going under 20.
under 20, I think Dak is gonna throw a pick. I can almost bank on
Yeah, I
it.
mean, we all know that. I would bet money in
So,
Vegas.
you know, the I'm gonna take, just assume the special teams are gonna be pretty even on both sides. And like you said, I think it's what you pointed out is why I think the Bucks are gonna lose. Even at Tom Brady's best, right? When he was in his prime in New England, what had always been the Achilles heel of Tom Brady. And that is if you can get after him, if you can put pressure on him, ask those Giants teams, right? Michael Strahan, uh, OC, right? Those guys got after Tom, made him uncomfortable. And, when Tom doesn't have time, there's nothing he can do. And at this point, not only is obviously, he's like 100 years old, but his line is banged up. No Tristan Wirfs, I think, or did he come back? I
I think
thought
he's back, but
okay, he's back.
he's really hurt.
Yeah,
Like
he's
he's
banged up. He's playing hurt. And the rest of that line, just the Christmas Day game. The Cardinals were holding that Bucks team with a complete unit out there. And so I think this Dallas team that had been the strength of, of you of the Cowboys all year will come through. I think it's going to be, like you said, a heavy ground attack. Keep the ball out of Brady's hands as much as possible, and then go get them. Unleash the dogs. And I think, as much as it pains me to say it, I have to take the Cowboys in this one. Just based on those facts. Do I think the Bucs can win? Of course, it's Tom Brady. If if the Bucs win, I'm not going to be surprised. And if it was any other quarterback in the league, maybe Patrick Mahomes, uh, I would say they have a chance only because of them, that they can defy all the other odds. Josh Allen is close. He's not quite there yet. Rodgers is close. He hasn't been the same in recent years. It's really only Brady and Mahomes that I could say them alone could overcome any other obstacle that their team, has. So I'm not saying it's impossible, but I think the Cowboys get it done on the road, and it's their defense that carries them through. So that's what I'm gonna say. I hope it doesn't come back to bite me. I'm picking the Cowboys, so they better win, Matt. Um, they better win.
Don't worry, don't worry. We're supposed to win 4 games in a row based on the streak, so I'm banking on that. That means we're gonna win the Super Bowl.
Yeah, because if you guys can't beat these hobbled up Bucks, you don't deserve it anyway. Um, okay, well, that'll be interesting. I guess really quick we can do our before the playoff prediction. So I'll give mine first. I want to hear yours after.
Yeah, why don't you go first?
I'll go first. I'm gonna go on the AFC side. I think it's gonna be the Chiefs. Um, I think I really want it to be the Bills, but you know, there's just something about the Chiefs this year, and you know, they're like a not talked about 1 seed. It's like they haven't had all the hype. I don't know if it's because Tyreek is gone, whatever, but they're winning, and I think their team has been playing really well, like cohesively. So I'm gonna go with Kansas City on the AFC side. The NFC side, kind of a toss up for me. I'm not gonna lie. Um, I'm between two teams right now, but I'm gonna have to go with. I can't remember what I'm saying. I think I'm gonna have to go with the Eagles. Um, in the Super Bowl. I know that's not what you want to hear. I wasn't gonna pick the Cowboys. I
Why
think
not?
the 49ers have a real chance. I do. But if it's gonna come down to the quarterback play and what I've seen this year, not like I don't like Brock Purdy. I like Brock Purdy. But I think I trust Jalen Hurts more to make a play for me uh when I need to. As good as that Niners defense is, I'm gonna just that is the only reason to me. I think both those teams are pretty talented, but I'm gonna take Jalen Hurts over Brock Purdy, and I'm gonna have a Eagles Chiefs Super Bowl. That's my prediction.
Okay, so the 1 seeds for you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so for me in the AFC, I was kind of going between two teams on this one too, but I'm gonna pick the Bengals. I think they're the team that is the most balanced and complete. They might not be the best on one unit, but I think they're the most complete team at this point of the season. The offensive line has kind of played a lot better. I know they're missing Lyle Collins, former Cowboy, by the way, but they've kind of held their own the past 5, 6 games. And they obviously, you got Joe Burrow, you got a solid running back in Joe Mixon, you got two solid receivers on the outside, Chase and Higgins, and you got a nice slot in Tyler Boyd. So you got the weapons. We already saw that last year. The offense to me isn't the concern, but I think this year the thing that makes the Bengals better is their defense. They're a lot better, a little weaker on the corners, I say, but I think with like Jesse Bates, their front seven is a lot better than they were last year. So, and with Buffalo losing Von Miller, and I just think the Bengals coming down to the AFC Championship, if they play the Chiefs, which I think will happen, they have Kansas City's number. They're not afraid. If
Yeah,
they have to
that is
go into
true.
Arrowhead,
That's
they
true.
ain't scared. They did it before. And they already beat Kansas City this year. And to me, I know it's been said a lot, but they don't have Tyreek Hill. And this is playoff time now. This is not regular season. So Mahomes always had that big play in Tyreek in his back pocket in the playoffs last year against the Bills. Obviously, when they won the Super Bowl, had that big catch. So how are they going to be with Tyreek Hill or no Tyreek Hill in the playoffs? And I think that just provides a little vulnerability more for the Bengals to take. So I got the Bengals in the AFC. The NFC, you already know it's the Cowboys.
And there it goes with the bias.
Yeah, you already know, but I know you're gonna say that, so I'm gonna have to make some kind of secondary pick. But outside of the Cowboys, pains me to say this as well, but I think the 49ers would go to the Super Bowl. I think they're the hottest team going into the playoffs. And like what you said, right? If it comes down to Jalen Hurts versus Brock Purdy, the thing that I'm going to bank on is Kyle Shanahan won with Jimmy G. Now, is Jimmy G a guy who's going to make a game winning drive? Yeah, he's capable, but for the most part, he's a game manager. And that's really all the 49ers are for the past however many years with Kyle Shanahan, right? If they can run the ball, which I think they will, regardless, I feel like it won't matter at this point. And if Brock Purdy is playing like how he's doing right now, you keep him in good situations. He's shown that he can take care of the ball, and that's really all you need from him. I don't need Brock Purdy to go on a 10-play, 75-yard touchdown drive in 2 minutes. I need him to play, a clean football game, throw for 150, 200 yards, but you get 0 turnovers. You guys win because they have the best defense. I'll admit that. So defense wins championships. That's kind of my theme on this point. The Bengals have improved defense. The 49ers have the best defense in the NFL. So I'm going to say Bengals and 49ers.
All right.
But you already know the Cowboys are winning the Super Bowl. I just said
Yeah,
that
yeah,
just to not
yeah,
be
yeah,
biased.
yeah. Whatever. All right. Well, that's enough NFL. I guess we can end really fast on college football. I really wanted to talk more about tonight's game, but what is there to talk about? I mean, honestly, Georgia just showed that, you know, it's a mix. I think Georgia just had the elite talent this year, both sides of the ball, and TCU just shrunk a little bit. I mean, let's be honest. Both teams started off with a false start. I get that, but I, even the first half I was watching, you know, Max Duggan, yeah, he didn't play great, but it's hard to do that when they have all these timing plays, quick screens and stuff like that. And the snap is like at his knees or it's like a little too high. I don't know if you picked up on that, but there are a bunch of times like they had quick stuff and he's having to pick the ball up like at his shins. Throws off the whole timing of the play, right? And he had his chances too. He missed a couple throws, big throws for conversions. The pick, he had his guy wide open, sailed it.
Yeah.
And then really it was only the second quarter, but he threw the dagger uh that Georgia capitalized on in the pick in your own territory with less than 2 minutes left in the half, right? And then Stetson Bennett really gives you the dagger, throws it up, then it's 38-7 at the half. That's all she wrote, right? Um, I guess we can finish out this segment with just the college football. But I don't know, Matt. I guess brings this hurts the non-SEC teams now. I think moving forward, but at least we'll go to the what is it, 12-man or 12-team playoff format.
2024, 25?
Okay, so
2 seasons from now.
it's
So there's
not this
one more
upcoming season.
regular one and
Okay,
then the
so
next one.
yeah, I think this hurts non-SEC teams now, right? Because we saw Alabama smoke Kansas State, right? And Kansas State was the Big 12 champs, right? That beat TCU. So, we were saying, I don't know, we think Alabama should be in over Ohio State. Ohio State proved themselves. They played Georgia really tight, came down to the end. But this is gonna hurt, I think, teams like TCU or even a USC moving forward. When it comes down to that fourth spot with a 1 versus a 2 loss team, because quite frankly, this is what the CFP was the last thing they wanted to see was a blowout, right? They wanted a good game, and I think this was the biggest margin of victory in any championship
Yep.
college football game ever. Just yeah, absolute domination by the dogs. So I don't know. I think it hurts TCU. And
Yeah, I want to go back to the point, well, at least for the game. So you picked up on, at least from TCU standpoint, the missed snaps and whatnot. And I think that is huge. But what I saw was on the defensive side of the ball. And I think Kurt Herbstreit said this too. Like, I don't know if you saw, but the linebackers were just, they were taking the run so hard that it's like Georgia was killing them with bootlegs and play actions, like all these misdirection
any
screens,
misdirection,
just
yeah.
throwing it away from, they were crashing so hard to whatever side they're showing the run. And it's like Brock Bowers just has like 10 yards of open grass in front of him to
Yeah.
run. They were doing that all game and they didn't make an adjustment to that. I think that was that really got Georgia's offense into a groove. And then obviously the rest is history, right?
And I
Stetson Bennett
think,
was already, it was too late.
yeah. And I think though, TCU, what other choice do they have? They play the 3-3-5, right? Like
Yeah.
when you play a 3-3-5, you only have 3 down linemen. You need your linebackers to crash hard to fill in the
Mm-hmm.
gaps because you don't have guys on the line. And credit to Kirby Smart and that Georgia offensive staff picked up on it and ran bootlegs and misdirection over the middle stuff all game. And that dude Brock Bowers, by the way, he's only a
He
sophomore.
is, yeah, he's got to come back next
He's
year.
got to come back next year. That guy, oh my goodness, he looks like one of the prototype tight ends. He will
Dude,
be, I think, a top 10 draft pick when he's
yeah.
ready to come out. Like he's
Dude
a
looks
Kyle
like,
Pitts type of dude.
yeah. Or I was saying he looks like Travis Kelsey plus George Kittle in one body.
Yeah,
Like, I can see all of it.
just crazy stuff.
Insane.
Insane stuff there. Uh, I wish we had more to talk about this game, but quite frankly, I don't even want to get into it. Mattress Mac lost $3 million. I guess that's one thing we can say. Um, Whatever. Just unfortunate, but congrats to Georgia. Stetson Bennett, old man of college football, deserved it. All right, Matt. Well, let's just take one more short break here, finish up with our other stuff, and then we'll call it a pod. Okay, so we talked a lot of football. I guess we'll finish up with some UH basketball stuff, a little bit of baseball. So, Matt, how are we looking? How's UH looking?
Well, kind of a good and bad week, I guess. So their first road trip concluded this weekend. So their first game came out on top, their first actual true road game, because when they played UNLV, it wasn't at their actual arena. So first true road game of the year, Hawaii wins against UC San Diego 62-49. And this was a kind of crazy game. I watched this one a little bit in the second half, but it was really a tale of two halves to me. The first half was perfect by all standards. All 5 of the starters were just clicking. And then the second half, UC San Diego, they switched to zone late in the first half, and UH just could not figure it out. They just couldn't get what I say. I think, any basketball 101 expert would say this, but when you play zone, you got to find a way to get in the middle and collapse that zone. And UH they couldn't get in the zone, get in the middle, excuse me. They were turning the ball over, taking contested threes. There was really no offensive flow. And it was so bad that UC San Diego I think they were down 14 at the half, cut it to 4, late in the second half. So I was like, oh my gosh, they're going to blow this game. But the guy who hit the shot again, Mr. Diamond Head Classic hero, Jovan McClanahan, who I thought played a really good game, actually. But he hit a huge 3 to cut it, push the league back to 7. just to give them some kind of breathing room. From there, I think UC San Diego scored again, and then Coleman comes back, hits a three. So I think that was really when we started to kind of, take the soul out of UC San Diego. And the guy who was kind of just finishing it off the whole game was Bernardo da Silva, kind of the exclamation point late in that second half. He finished with 20 points, 9 of 11 from the field. So nice to see our big kind of imposing their will on a smaller team, which is what you want to see, especially from Bernardo da Silva, who I think they're going to definitely need to play like this. They're going to want to win the Big West Championship. But it was nice to see UH. Yes, they had a cold streak in the second half, but I like that they didn't panic and they were able to execute and make timely shots late in the game because that's when it counts. So that's the thing that was encouraging this game. And then you move to Fullerton. So they're going in 3-0, playing the defending Big West champs, obviously, but kind of a slow start for them. Really no rhythm at all whatsoever. And to me, the key in this game was the turnovers. I don't care if you're Duke or you're Gonzaga. If you turn the ball over 22 times against your opponent, the odds are you're probably going to lose that game. Or if you're very lucky and you're playing a really inferior opponent, it's going to be close. So that was the story of the game. 22 turnovers. Not what you want to see. And I know that, yeah, the game went into overtime, but that's not a good look. And this game was really just ugly to me. 22 turnovers in a college game that's ridiculous. And UH, this is kind of like the bad UH, right? A lot of turnovers. Guys were obviously in foul trouble. Bernardo da Silva kind of was the lead man again. He had 18 points, but he fouled out. The rest of the 4 starters all had 4 fouls, so they're just like in foul trouble. Beon Riley fouled out off the bench. So it was just like a hackathon at this point for Cal State Fullerton. But UH kind of, the dark side of UH is they're really 3-point happy team. And when they're not hitting their threes, they look pretty awful. And this game was the story of that. So 4 of 19 as a team. Noah Coleman was 3 for 4, who, by the way, hit the clutchest shot that game. Hit a nice 3 at the end of regulation to send this game into overtime. Nice play by Ganat, actually, get him off a pick. Had a really clean look at a 3, and he made the shot. So nice to see Noel Coleman getting going a little bit. I know we lost, but we're definitely going to need our leading scorer to stay hot and be efficient. So it was a good bounce back game for Coleman. But outside of him, I mean, 1 for 15 as a team, outside of Noel Coleman from 3 it's not going to cut it. Just no offensive rhythm. But when you give it away 22 times, that's 22 possessions you lose. So, and they went to overtime. So 1 less turnover, you win the game. Simple as that. So, yeah, it's a tough loss. Didn't expect them to run the table, but first road series. I'll take a split. I think that's good. And we're 3-1. We're heading back home now. We play Long Beach State and CSUN this coming weekend. So Saturday is going to be a big one. I'll probably be there, but I won't be there on Monday because the NFL announced that Dallas plays Monday night. And that game, I'm sorry, UH, but yeah, Dallas is a little more important there. But no, I think UH, if they bounce back against Long Beach and CSUN, which I expect them to win both of these games, there's really no need to panic. It's a long season. Every team is going to beat each other. So you just want to stay in the hunt and make your push at the end of the conference season. So a 3-1 start in conference I would be happy with that as a UH basketball fan.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I'm just hoping we're going dancing in March. That's all I care about.
Exactly.
Hopefully they get hot at the right time. Okay. Baseball you did want to talk about. So Rafael Devers did get inked up. He is now officially going to be in Boston for the next 11 years. a $331 million contract. I think pretty well deserved. Even with Bogarts there, he was the best, most consistent hitter on that team, and now you're gonna have to see him for 11 more years, Matt. So, you know, I'm sure you were hoping that things fell out between the Red Sox and Mr. Devers, but they got it done. He'll be there. I think both sides are pretty happy with that. Um, I don't know, Matt. You a little nervous that he's staying there? He's gonna be terrorizing you for a while with that short porch.
Nah, the only thing I'm scared about is if he faces Garrett Cole, because he for some reason just hits him. So as long as Garrett Cole doesn't pitch against them, I think we're good. If Garrett Cole is pitching against them, we'll just walk him. We'll just take first. You earned it. But nah, I mean, on all serious, I think you had no choice if you're a Boston to me to re-sign him. I mean, how many guys did you guys let go? Which is great from a Yankees perspective, but to me, at the end of the day, it's like, yeah, they signed Rafael Devers, and the contract to me, 11 years, 331 mil, kind of a big contract to me. And I know, yes, the way things are now in sports is you're gonna have to overpay for guys, but I don't know, with the money that Judge got, it's like, I don't know. This is a pretty interesting trade from a financial perspective. And all I gotta say is they could have gave this contract to Mookie Betts. He would have signed. So I'd much rather have
Well,
him
I'm
have
glad they didn't.
I'd much rather have them have Rafael Devers than Mookie Betts. And Rafael Devers is a great player, but Mookie Betts is still another level. So the fact that they let Mookie Betts go, they let Xander Bogaerts go. To me, both of those guys are your cornerstone pieces that they let go in the offseason, and they end up settling with Devers. Yeah, it's fine. I'm not too worried. I mean, we're the Yankees. Look at the offseason we had. I think we had a better offseason than Boston. So if you're just looking at those two teams, it's unbiasedly saying how can you not pick the Yankees at this point over the Red Sox with what they have?
Well, that's true.
So
Definitely got to.
yeah.
Although the Red Sox do have Justin Turner. But
And Kenley Jansen and Kike Hernandez. So
yeah,
maybe they're just
so
trying to get the
they're just the
Dodger
Boston
reunion going.
Dodgers.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, good for Devers. I think he deserved a long-term contract. Um,
Yeah. He's one of the best hitters in baseball. He has the most like extra base hits of one
um,
of the most.
yeah. So I guess one quick thing before we get to your sports fact. I don't know if you saw this, but I saw an article that said Timmy Chang is going back to the run and shoot. You
Yep.
see that?
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
And
interesting.
and I heard that he's calling plays.
And he's calling the plays. Okay, so hopefully, okay, so that means he wasn't calling the plays last season.
No.
Well, thank goodness. Um, I guess we'll have to see how that goes before the everything starts again. We'll have Hunter back on. Uh, because does he even go to like the training camp stuff, the
He
summers?
goes to the spring game.
Really?
Yep. He's the
Okay.
only person I know that goes to the spring
Okay.
game. So
So yeah, he is Mr. UH. So okay, that's good to know. That would be pretty interesting. I want to hear his take when it gets closer. Um, okay. Well, other than that, Matt, it was a good pod. Why don't you round us out here?
all right, sports fact of the day. So we are recording on January 9th. So back in 1991, Major League Baseball officially banned Pete Rose from being elected into the Baseball Hall of Fame for obviously his negotiations with his gambling and his betting. So
I still think
pretty
that's dumb.
unfortunate. I think he should be in the Hall of Fame. Look at what he's done on the field. I mean,
It's
guys
not like
like
he
Babe Ruth,
cheated.
like, I mean, it's not steroids. I
Yeah,
mean, look
like
at
that.
Babe
That's what I
Ruth.
mean.
Like, I look at Babe Ruth. He's in the Hall of Fame, but he was a pretty terrible person, to be honest. Like, off the field, I think he gambled. He was gambling too. So, I don't know. I think there's just something against the MLB, aka Rob Manfred. You have the power to change this. But yeah, Pete Rose, I mean, he's the hit king. I know everyone mentions Ichiro, but it's still Pete Rose. And I don't know of anybody that's going to beat his record. It's going to be tough. at
Yeah.
this point. But yeah, very unfortunate for Mr. Pete because I think
Unfortunate for Mr.
he
Rose.
definitely deserves to be in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, I agree as well. Okay. Well, Matt, that's our last pod until next weekend. So
Oh my, I'm scared for next week's pod. Can you guys imagine if Dallas lays an egg? I
I don't
mean,
know
I'm
if you're
sure
gonna be on.
it's
I don't
good
even
for
know
our
if you're gonna be
views.
here. Are you even gonna be on the show?
Oh.
You're gonna be like I'm gonna be like Skip all by myself on the show. You're gonna be MIA. But
uh, maybe you're gonna be MIA because I need the whole floor to myself.
oh god.
I'm
Yeah. Well,
not gonna think like that because I did pick them to win the Super Bowl. So let's go. New season
oh yeah.
starts now.
By the way, you say you're not biased. You sent me their projected schedule next year. You said 14-3. Are you kidding
Wait,
me?
that's just a glance. I mean, look at what I said. All I gotta say is going on that note. Look at what we did on our way too early predictions. I was one game off, and you laughed at me. One game off.
That's true.
Pretty good.
I think I had us at 12 wins. So yeah, I was 3 games off.
But I was one game off. So maybe if I say 14-3, they'll go 15-2 next year.
Or
How's that?
13-4.
I'll take that too.
All right. All right. It's a good jinx. Okay. Well, other than that, yeah, thanks everyone. Hope everyone has a good week. And Matt, see you next week. Hopefully with
We will
good
see you
news
next week for both of us.
for both of us. Yep. All right. Thanks everyone.